Hey there, agents. We're coming to you today with a market report and some advice on giving these. So Danielle and I have been advocating for quite some time for people to stop playing henny penny and stop trying to call what the market's going to do. You could come out on top. You could get lucky. It could do what you think it's going to do. But, you know, you could also really end up with egg on your face. And I'm allergic to eggs, so I do not want that. And we have to be really careful. People trust us. So if you're running around saying prices are going to come down, I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen it in other places, primarily, various social media. If you are telling buyers to continue to rent until prices come down, you're doing them a disservice. You're doing the market a disservice. And ultimately, I don't think you're acting in an ethical fashion. You don't know that prices are going to come down, but you do know that they're spending money on rent every month that could be going toward a long-term investment.
And let's be honest. Okay, so best case scenario, those people are living in a place that they are paying 100% interest rates on because they are never, ever going to see a dime of that back. So that is 100% interest. Or they stay in a property that maybe is owned by somebody else. It's not an apartment. It is a private owner. And the private owner decides tomorrow that they want to put that house on the market. They are now in a very competitive rental market.
Yes.
That's not easy to find because a lot of these single family homes or duplexes or things like that people have held on to for a long time as rental properties are going to single family, families or whatever, and being sold to owner occupants.
But a lot of people didn't want to be landlords to begin with. And so
Correct.
They couldn't sell for a long, long time. And now they realize, hey, not only can I sell, but it's going to be relatively easy. And I'm going to walk away with a chunk of cash in my pocket. This sounds really good to me. And they're taking advantage of it. We're seeing lots and lots of people do that. This is, for the most part, not time to buy rental property. It's time to sell it. And we see, again, it's tough when it's not your client and somebody's getting this advice and you want to make sure that they're considering carefully because there's so much really long-term damage that can be done. So I don't think homeownership is always 100% the right answer for everyone. We're not saying that, but take a little bit of a step back and stop trying to be the hero who's predicting what's going to happen in the future of real estate. And of course, probably most of our audience, if they're here looking at the title of our channel, Raise the Bar, they're not the people who are committing those acts. But it's easy to get caught up in, especially when, there's a major book by the owner of a major real estate company that people are using the word to describe what they feel happening in the market. And of course, there's a shift. There's always a shift. The market is constantly changing. That's what markets do. But taking that and turning it into there's going to be a crash, we just don't feel is responsible.
Correct. And that's why we always make sure that when we are talking to the general public or our clients just today, we sent out an email. I have a listing coming up and we're getting it ready for the private listing network while they finalize some things in their house. And even within that email, because when we're doing that, we have to have a listing written, right? You had to have a listing agreement and we have to put a price in there. We have verbiage in there saying, hey, this is where we think it is. But if it takes another week, 3 weeks, whatever to get this on the market, we are going to reevaluate this number again because we want you to go on the market at the best rate at that moment or at that best price that fits everything your house encompasses at that moment. We want to put you in the best. So we're constantly telling them we don't know what the future brings.
And how many times do we see a house come on the market in a neighborhood that we know really well? And so we're very in tune with what's happening. And we look and we say, what are they thinking? That was the price 6 months ago. Whether it's way too low or way too high, they did a CMA when they first went on the first listing appointment, and that's their story, and they're sticking to it.
Absolutely. Or they don't really truly, or any combination of them not really knowing the market.
Right.
So that's our first, piece of advice. You've got to definitely know the market, and then
know it today, not know it.
And when you say you know the market for what you're saying right at this moment.
I was thinking about doing a video recently. I was thinking about doing a video, Danielle, about what matters more, a local agent or an agent who does their homework. Because a lot of times, people think just the fact that an agent lives in a neighborhood gives them some kind of a step up over other agents who might come from someplace else, but really do the research.
Right. Well, there's that assumption that if you live in the neighborhood, you know everybody, you know everything. And there are some people who do that. I try to know everybody, and I try to know a lot of what's going on. But then you have, I think Ruth is frozen. So I'll keep going on. Oh, okay. So, but there are those people who, there's plenty of people who don't know their next door neighbor. So what makes you think that they know everything going on in that neighborhood per se?
Or they live in a neighborhood and they pay no attention to real estate for 6 months at a time while they're off doing other things. And then somebody says, can you list my house? And they say yes. And don't, there's people who do the work and there's people who don't.
Sure. So be that person who does the work.
Yeah.
And what we pointed out today in our Facebook Live was once again using real statistics, real numbers. We showed the average.
Show them the graph. I don't know if everybody has InfoSparks, but you've probably got something similar that uses your MLS data. And please don't quote data from our competitors. From the data companies who are in our business.
Who have never been into homes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what they look like.
Unless you're a broker with one of them, don't use their data. Use our data. Use our proprietary MLS data.
Correct. So this is InfoSparks. And so what I did actually this time around was I went and did a 10-year supply. So the idea was that 10 years ago, we were kind of at the peak of what we thought is the worst of the recession, right? And, days on market and supply amounts were at almost a year. And so I'm not sure if we've talked about this before, and if you're unaware, typically when they talk about buyers markets, neutral markets, and sellers markets, we're talking 3-4 months and below kind of being the seller's market. 5-6 and above is kind of is a buyer's market, and the in between is kind of a neutral market. And so we were able to say, 10 years ago, it was decidedly a buyer's market. There were quite a few years that we were in this between about 2014 to about 2020, where we were in that 5 to 3.5 mark, which was somewhat a neutral market. And then it's been 2 years that we've been well over, well under the 2-month mark of month supply. And so, we don't know if in a year or two that this down point is going to start immediately going up to 3, 4, 5, 6 months on market, or even worse. But even over these 10 years, as you see, nothing fell flat. Nothing went from here to there in no time. the going from 12 months to 4 months took 2 years. So again, we might see, but what we can say is today we are not seeing it. Last month we did not see it. And saying, okay, if we're still half of where we were in 2020, when 2020 was considered a pretty decent market, then we have some wiggle room before we need to start saying that the sky is falling. We have some wiggle room. And so this is what we're trying to explain to people, that, when you start talking negatively, it often makes it negative. So when all these experts are out there, so now you've got to understand where some of these experts are coming from. They don't care about the individual buyer. They don't care about the individual seller. They care about clicks, getting headlines, or sometimes they're paid and bought by people who have the financial interest.
Absolutely.
Things being the way they're saying it is. So obviously we have, to an extent, financial interest in what we're saying too, and in our clients, but on a very small level. And what is our reputation if we are telling them things that they know to be wrong? Our reputation is going to be crap. So
and our financial interest is long-term. The interest in panic is short-term. That's not going to do anybody any long-term good. But those who are after a quick buck are the ones who are perpetuating it. The other thing to remember is they might not be in your market. They might be telling the truth, but it might be their truth. So find this data for your particular area, dig into it, look at it lots of different ways. Danielle went back 10 years. That really gives you a great, long-term overview that we don't get day to day. We get ridiculous headlines about how home sales plummeted or prices plummeted. And then you look and they're saying, wait a minute, why did home sales go down? Was it because there was no demand? Nobody wants to buy them? No, it was because there aren't any for sale.
Right.
Okay.
The homes that went up was down.
That doesn't mean what I think you think it means.
Correct. Correct.
So look at your data, interpret it. That's your job. That's what we need to bring to the table. Not the headlines, not the catchy words, not the pontification or the predictions of what's coming.
Or the political siding over
exactly
whose fault is what and why and whatever.
Whose fault it is and how, you're going to change that. None of that is real. It's somebody else's agenda, and it should not be ours as realtors.
Your agenda is to be the best agent you can for your clients and help guide them through the entire process.
Yes, and that's what we do. So, let's do it well. Let's improve the reputation of our profession, and one by one, and bit by bit, and raise the bar. And
if you're saying opposite, I just want to say I'm saying what we are saying is for the Chicagoland area right now, we are not seeing changes. We know there are changes happening.
Yes.
In other areas. If you are not seeing the numbers I just showed, if you are seeing that there is an uptick, if you are seeing that there definitely is a change in your market, then be honest with your clients as well.
And if you're not telling your clients all the time, no matter what the market is,
Correct.
If you are not telling them all the time that markets move and markets shift and markets change, you're not telling the truth. So that's, as long as we're always telling them this is how it is, here's where we are today. We don't know where that's going to be a month from now. That's why we don't put prices on properties way out. Set the expectation that markets move. None of this is up to us. None of this is in our control. It's only in our control to interpret and help set expectations and help buyers and sellers know what's coming, what's coming in the near future, and make decisions that will carry them through whatever happens in the long future.
So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this helps you kind of get a little fire under you this isn't kind of something you generally do, but it should be. We should always know our markets and know what these numbers mean and how this affects our clients.
And drop a comment. Do you think things are moving in your market? Which direction are they going? Let us know what's happening and where you are.
Absolutely. And some of the best statistics you use. I tend to use the ones that I think make sense, but maybe there are better ones out there that you think are better indicators. And I would love to hear. We'd love to hear.
Yeah. All right. See you next week.
Take care. Bye-bye.